On the 23rd of August, 2025, what was supposed to be a family-friendly wrestling event turned into a horrific crime scene as kick streamer Raja Jackson slammed his opponent, Psycho Stu, onto the mat, knocking him out cold and following up with 23 punches to the head. The blows only stopped because someone intervened, forcibly pulling Raja off and restraining him, meaning he looked like he had every intent to continue attacking Stu until he was dead. This was not a screw job, it was not an accident, it looked like attempted murder. And all of it was witnessed not just by the audience in person, but also by thousands of people watching it all go down on Kick. This incident became so notorious that even Mr. Beast weighed in, offering Stu his help. But the amount of eyes on it also led people to asking a very important question. What led up to this incident? Well, we can start by introducing Raja, which we can only do if we introduce legendary former UFC light heavyweight champion Quinton Rampage Jackson, his father. Before he was even in the UFC, Rampage was already making a name for himself in the Japanese MMA promotion Pride FC, where he was both fearless and brutal, with his most famous highlight being his powerbomb knockout.
Area there.
No, it's dangerous. He's got to get out.
Right, but then I told you, he picked him up and slammed him to the ground.
He's out.
This move is so dangerous that there are some people who think it should be made illegal in the UFC, since comparable moves like the pile driver, where you slam someone's head or neck onto the mat, already are. But despite how much attention he drew in his fights, what really made Rampage's name was his personality outside of the octagon. Unlike many other MMA fighters who didn't have an interesting personality or didn't even speak English, Rampage became one of the earliest UFC-adjacent celebrities for just how funny he was.
Prime or not, against the big silverback gorilla does the job. Let's see if he, in fact, agrees with me. Is he there? What's up, Quinton? How are you?
I was doing good till you just called me a silverback gorilla.
And then I'm gonna get drunk as hell. I'm gonna be like stumbling. I'm taking my shirt off. I ain't been this ripped in a long time. I'm taking. He just said,
I just
This interview is over.
No. I was just trying to reaffirm.
What's your wife's name? Frank?
With his clear talent on the mic, finding himself a career after his fighting days were over proved to be an easy task. Years after his last fight, Rampage had a stable online presence with his podcast, Jackson. You've probably seen some clips of it if your shorts get the MMA algorithm, but even if they don't, you may still have seen Rampage on Matan Evans' podcast.
How many midgets to beat you in a fight?
100.
How would you work around 50?
I'd be doing knees to the face all month.
Oh, they just wouldn't even reach your face?
Front kicks and knees.
What if one of them was in a wheelchair and he had mental problems?
How much I'm getting paid?
For 4,000.
No, I wouldn't even do it.
With his popularity soaring due to his presence on YouTube, Rampage then expanded his operations to Kick, where he found even more success.
Ben Ark just tipped $1. Hey, Daddy Rampage, let me get that BBC.
Rampage looks like he sold 6 Toyotas today.
Rampage, don't listen to him. You're an inspiration. Thank you for doing all you do. Especially for the gays. How Rampage acts like he doesn't go to the gay clubs and takes the guys home and comes out the room limping from the vein ass.
Oh, that's funny to you? That's your dad they talking about.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Let somebody say something about my dad. You see how I act. You know?
Listen,
but you laughing. It's your dad, though.
It's only because it caught me off guard. That's the only reason why I laugh. Hey, y'all can't be saying about him. He don't be going to no goddamn gay club.
As you may have noticed, in many clips of Rampage's streams, his son, Raja, is with him, and that's how people were mainly introduced to him. Raja is one of the 5 children Rampage had with 3 different women, with Raja's mother unfortunately passing away when he was just a child. While Rampage is definitely entertaining, and at least on stream, showed that he had good communication with his son, it can be inferred that, at least early on in Raja's life, with his mother's passing and Rampage still being an active fighter who had to spend long periods of time away from home at training camps, Raja may not have had the best upbringing.
It's hard growing up without a mom from such a young age. May God bless your mom's soul and keep your amazing father.
Hey, yeah, I appreciate that, man. You know, maybe one day I'll open up more about it. You know, I grew up with her a little bit. It was rough when I was a kid because I barely saw her. You know, she's in heaven now. It sucks how she passed and everything, but I know she's in a better place. And to anybody else that's going through the same thing or, you know, younger, you know, my condolences and God bless.
Rampage himself also seems to have always known that there's something wrong with Raja that he can't put his finger on.
All I'm going to say is that my son hasn't been the same since his mom got murdered. He hasn't. And I know that. And I've been trying to be there for him and, you know, make him laugh and cheer him up and everything, but I'm not a psychiatrist, and I know my kids. He hasn't been the same with me. Like, he's just been distant from me. Like, he want to be more of a man and more of this.
Both Raja and Rampage had a history of temper tantrums, and obviously an interest in fighting. But the main difference is Rampage's mom was present, and to this day plays a pivotal role in his life, disapproving of his more eccentric behaviors. Meanwhile, it seems like Raja lacked that centering element, which led his own father to say that some of his kids had set aside tuition money for college, while other of his kids, Raja included, had bail money. While it's definitely possible this was just a joke on Rampage's part, I can't help but think that there was some inkling of truth behind it. Regardless of these points of friction, Raja was deeply inspired by his father, which led him down the path of mixed martial arts. Raja managed to stack up 4 wins in the amateur scene before turning pro, although it was against less than stellar competition. After turning pro, he made his debut against another fighter in 2023 and lost. His next fight was canceled due to his scheduled opponent's weight issues, which seems to have generally pushed him away from the professional MMA world, along with his less than ideal performances. While following his father's footsteps as an MMA fighter seemed to be the wrong path, Raja decided to do it in another way, kick streaming. As is customary of kick streams, Raja's got pretty wild, harassing random bystanders on the street, getting in scuffles, insulting each other, pretty much par for the course stuff. I wouldn't even put this on Raja as an individual as much as it's just the kind of thing that goes on Kick. But one thing was clear throughout all of it. The star of the show was and continued to be Rampage. However much their banter seemed to be in good fun, and even their arguments were clearly played up a bit, there was undoubtedly something genuinely questionable about their dynamic, as Rampage and Raja have publicly spoken of an instance where they got into a real fight that could have left serious injuries if Rampage wasn't a trained fighter.
We already got in a fight once.
Oh, really?
2 years ago?
Yeah.
He sucker punched me. To this day, he's the only person I ever guillotined.
Oh my God.
I never get guillotined on nobody. I didn't want to keep punching them. I got like this 100-year-old door that turned to like a table.
Yeah, it's haunted.
like 200 pounds. If I would have hit my head, I would have died.
Besides the violence, there was also a criminal aspect. Allegedly, Raja had previously stolen Rampage's car and caused a police chase, according to pro wrestler Doug Mallow. Despite all of these red flags that Raja could be a ticking time bomb, he and Rampage's stream moments were becoming very successful. Even if it was clear they had some issues, it was almost wholesome to see them ironing them out on stream, whether it be training together or just interacting in general. Unfortunately, if the streams were going to lead Raja to work on himself and experience personal development, it didn't come early enough, because in late August 2025, he would be the cause of a tragedy that was going to change his life forever and nearly take someone else's. On the 23rd, Raja was invited to do an IRL stream at the Knock X Pro wrestling event by his MMA coach Andre Hudson, who wrestles for the promotion under the stage name AJ Mana. Knock X Pro is a small promotion and a far cry from the spectacle that is the WWE, although it still has a loose connection as it is owned and run by former WWE superstar Rikishi, also known as the guy who rubs his ass in other wrestlers' faces. After arriving at the event, Andre led Raja backstage to meet the rest of the wrestlers performing at the event. While interacting and bantering with the guys, Raja was approached by the wrestler Psycho Stu, who was allegedly drunk at the time, with the two getting into what initially appeared to be a staged altercation, resulting in Stu smashing a beer can over Raja's head.
You don't need to worry about him.
Psycho
You're worried about Psycho Stu.
Psycho Stu?
What, you don't know me?
Hell no. Yeah.
Hey, I think that's a little... Oh! Oh, you don't...
Based on the footage alone, it seems like Stu was engaged in an unprovoked assault towards Raja, although it becomes clear after analyzing the footage that it was simply a misunderstanding. Firstly, it's been theorized by various online comments, as well as other former wrestlers, that the can is in fact a prop, something designed specifically for wrestling that causes very little pain to the receiver. This is backed up by the vapor that leaves the can when it collides with Raja's head. Later on in the stream, however, Raja claimed that that the beer can was real, which has led to further speculation. Regardless, Raja did have a right to be angry, given this could be argued as battery, even if it didn't really do any damage to him. He didn't know Stu beforehand, and Stu was the one to initiate the altercation, so Raja reacted by getting in his face. But it's at this point that Stu asked Raja if he's going to sell it. This terminology may seem weird to those of you who are totally unfamiliar with pro wrestling, but Stu is essentially asking Raja if he's going to play into the kayfabe, a wrestling storyline where he would pretend the attack was serious and vicious. This is because Stu presumed that Raja was also a pro wrestler, and that cracking a prop can on his head was fair play. When Stu discovered who Raja was, and that he wasn't in the business, he reached his arm out to him to apologize. And although Raja initially refused, he did calm down once fellow wrestlers explained the situation to him. Afterwards, Psycho Stu approached him again and apologized, saying he was just trying to set up a storyline for the event, and this time the two actually shook hands as Raja accepted his apology. Well, at least he acted as if he had forgiven Stu at that moment, because hours later, he'd exact his revenge in a criminally violent fashion. Despite the situation appearing to be resolved, while leading Raja to ringside, his coach, Andre, continued to express his disapproval of what Stu did, basically pushing Raja to stay mad at him. So far, this is inconsequential, but it crosses the line when this guy actively tells Raja to give him his receipt when he jumps in on Stu's match. And if anyone has a problem with it, he'd also jump in.
So when you run in on his and give him his receipt, remember what a receipt is. Give him that receipt, both tag his.
Depending on how you interpret this sounds a lot like instigating a crime, as actual violence is not supposed to take place at all during a wrestling match like this, let alone a premeditated brawl with multiple people jumping in. Now, this behavior from Andre was later on explained by Doug, who claimed that Andre is a notorious bully within the wrestling promotion, with Andre and Stu actually having a history of beef. If Doug is to be believed, Stu and Andre worked at the same ranch, although after not pulling his weight and complaining constantly, Andre was fired, potentially causing a rift between the two. It has been theorized by a few involved with the situation that this history is what encouraged Andre to give Raja these instructions. Although, even if Andre intended on some kind of real fight breaking out, I doubt that he wanted Raja to do what he did. Despite this odd exchange, it didn't seem like Raja was out of his mind about it, and was only intent in a stiff shot.
That shit pissed me off, bro. It didn't even hurt. It just pissed me off. Am I really gonna fight him? Yeah, I'm gonna punch his for real. Then I'll forgive him at that. I know I ain't gonna up too bad. Like I said, I don't believe in bullying, but I don't believe in me getting disrespected too.
But it's also at this point that we start seeing that the chat was getting under his skin, and Raja had no defense mechanism against it. Basically, over the course of the hours prior to the event, Raja was getting rage baited by people watching his stream, and this time, his dad wasn't there to talk some sense into him. The first notable instance was when Raja claimed that he has always wanted to hurt a professional wrestler.
It's always been my dream to up a pro wrestler for real. So I get it today.
And then he made an offer to Chad. He would knock Stu out cold for 50 gifted subs.
I ain't really sub farming, but 50 subs, knock him out. 50 subs.
This kept going and escalating until around 10 minutes before the match, when something extremely telling took place.
Exactly. Watch. My dad can't never call me a straight up.
While the chat and Andre's previous interaction definitely served as accelerants to Raja's aggression, here he spontaneously brings up Rampage, almost as if he had something specific in mind that was bugging him. As Stu enters the ring, Raja silently watches, visibly shaking with anger. Then he receives his cue to enter the ring and wastes no time in viciously assaulting Stu, slamming him on his head and punching him over 20 times after he was already unconscious. It took 13 shots just for someone else to come in and intervene, but this person was just 17 years old and clearly not strong enough to pull Raja off, not to mention visibly terrified of the situation. Ringside was wrestler Doug Malo, who later claimed he was asked by the promotion to stand by in case something went wrong with Raja. As soon as he witnessed the brutality of the assault, he would rush in and was able to pull Raja off of Stu's unconscious body. But it wasn't even over there, because once Doug intervened, a scuffle between him and Raja took place, with Raja splitting Doug's eye eye open with a punch before Doug returned with a headbutt, punch, and eventually a bite. Other wrestlers assisted Doug in restraining Raja before kicking him out of the venue. And keep in mind here that the wrestling event was filled with women and young children who had just been forced to watch who they thought was a random audience member violently assault a wrestler completely unprovoked. It's claimed by various people involved that if it wasn't for Doug pulling Raja off, he would have killed Psycho Stu that day, and it definitely looks like he was going for it. According to Doug, he had actually intended to restrain Raja after the attack until the police were able to come by and arrest him, although he was held back by other wrestlers, resulting in Raja continuing to stream outside the venue. Any rational person would end the stream after committing a crime as heinous as this, but Raja was already in too deep. And after leaving the venue, he continued to roam around, visibly furious and screaming. Throughout this part of the stream, we can develop an idea of the mindset Raja was in that may somewhat explain the attack on Stu, as he continuously mentioned that he wasn't a coward and was tired of people belittling him.
I'm gonna stand up for my self because I'm tired of everybody playing with me, bro.
It was clear that the chat had heavily affected his emotional state, as he continued to stare at his phone, reading it after the assault. Once again, he got confronted by another wrestler outside the venue, with Raja flying off the handle once again, threatening to fight and essentially do the same thing to this other guy.
Come on, man. We're leaving, man. We're walking away, bro. Let's not take it serious. Let's go. Come on, Roger. Let's go. Let's go, Roger. Let's go.
I don't give a you guys trying to jump me and
Let's go.
You ain't gonna do to me, bro.
Let's go,
You
Roger.
can't do to me. You can't with me, bro.
Let's go.
You can't with me.
Although it appeared that this wrestler was attempting to defend his friend Stu and confront Raja, a clip later came out of the same performer shooting a promo against Rampage Jackson, while continuously plugging his Instagram in some sort of twisted attempt to get clout off of the attack of a man who was still passed out, covered in blood at the venue.
Guess what? Guess what? Get off your cameras right now. Hashtag Rampage Jackson. Rampage Jackson. Rampage Jackson. With all due respect, your son came up and disrespected our show, big dog. So I'm telling you right now, your son came and disrespected our show. If you don't know me, I got barely about like 10 followers online because I'm really not that popping. But today, I'm about to get popping, I'm telling you right now. So, it's freeze_KPE, because that's what it is, right? Knox Pro Entertainment. All day, every day, I bleed it, bro. I'm telling you right now. As soon as you cut me, it's red and black. Knox Pro. You know who else was built from here? Another person called Jacob Fatu. Yeah, you know that one, right? You see what I'm saying? So I'm telling you right now. So listen up. You about to ask the question, I'm gonna tell you right now. Oh boy, busting my homie up. His son came here and busted my homie up.
So Raja was urged to flee the scene by his cameraman, and while still visibly furious and breathing heavily, he got a phone call from Andre, who had just seen the clip, after discovering what had happened with Stu. He told Raja that he didn't want him to go as far as he did, before claiming they were still trying to wake Stu up within the venue. Raja simply responded, and I quote, "My bad," before hanging up.
Pissed me off though, Andre. My bad. I'll call you back later.
Raja clearly didn't see the severity of what he had just done, or he was just ignoring it. But for the fans and wrestlers still inside, it was harrowingly real. Stu was still passed out, and at the time, people were afraid he was actually going to die from his injuries. It was later confirmed that Raja had not only broken multiple facial bones, but also knocked out the vast majority of Stu's teeth, resulting in him choking on his teeth before the paramedics got there. He was put on a stretcher, rushed to the hospital, and placed on a breathing tube in critical condition, with no say on whether he was going to survive this animal-esque attack. Due to the nature of live streams, alongside the severity of the situation, the clip immediately began to make the rounds online, catching the attention of perhaps the person closest to Raja, Rampage Jackson, who at the time was streaming with Sneeko. Upon viewing the clip, the two were clearly extremely shocked, although Rampage's first concern was whether Raja was going to be banned on Kick, as opposed to showing any form of worry towards the man his son could have just easily murdered. Raja was, in fact, permanently banned from Kick shortly after the incident, and he remains banned to this day.
So Roger broke somebody's face. My son broke somebody's face. Is Roger in trouble? Is he gonna get banned for it?
At first, the news would primarily be spread around the MMA community, with various prominent figures condemning the actions of Raja. And despite mixed martial arts often being a pretty tight-knit community, this situation was far too shocking to remain just there. This would result in another response from Rampage Jackson, this time on Twitter, where the post would read, "I want to clear up the misinformation about my son Raja. I've been confirmed that the wrestler, Stuart Smith, also known as Psycho Stu, is awake and stable. Raja was unexpectedly hit in the side of the head by him moments before Smith's match. Raja was told that he could get his payback in the ring. I thought it was a part of the show. It was bad judgment and a work that went wrong. Raja is an MMA fighter and not a pro wrestler and had no business being involved in an event like this. I don't condone my son's actions at all. He suffered a concussion from sparring only days ago and had no business doing anything remotely close to physical contact." Now, the concussion that Rampage is referring to occurred a day before the assault. During training, Raja's sparring partner would throw an irresponsible spinning kick towards him, wobbling Raja and giving him a concussion. But Rampage's tweet would continue. "As a father, I'm deeply concerned with his health and the well-being of Mr. Smith. That being said, I'm very upset that any of this happened, but my main concern now is that Mr. Smith will make a speedy recovery. I apologize on his behalf and to Kick for the situation." Now, various commenters immediately took issue with this response due to the fact that the entire event was streamed on Kick, so this narrative that it was somehow a misunderstanding could be easily unraveled by simply looking at the stream. The MMA community also mentioned how a concussion is no excuse for what can be seen as attempted murder. If that was the case, then Tito Ortiz would be a serial killer by now.
I want to outlive my children. Of course, 100%.
Despite the various flaws that can be seen in this response from Rampage, it still showed empathy towards Stu, and very clearly condemned the actions of his son. But the same cannot be said for Chael Sonnen. Chael Sonnen is another notorious figure within mixed martial arts, and he's similar to Rampage in the fact that his career and fame was assisted heavily by his personality, with his trash talk getting him a lot of opportunities despite the fact that he had various controversies involving performance-enhancing drugs and legal issues from the past. Although I don't mean to bring up old business. Chael has also transitioned into an online personality, although instead of streaming on Kick, he has a YouTube channel where he would upload uncut videos of him giving his takes on various goings-on within the MMA world. Although Chael is clearly undefeated and undisputed, for many, his reaction to the Raja situation would be his first major L. First of all, it was clear to many that Chael rushed to upload the video with very little research, as he appeared to be unaware of the key details within the case when he released his take. He started the video by describing his relationship with Raja, proclaiming him to be a polite young man, before claiming that the punches didn't appear to be done with anger.
It did not appear that Raja had lost his temper.
This take can easily be disproved by watching Raja's behavior after the assault. Chael then went on to explain that the beer can used by Stu was real, which is something that had been questioned and debunked by various MMA and wrestling journalists by this point. Although these takes are already baffling to anybody who had already watched the stream, it only got worse from this point onwards. Chael theorized that the reason Raja hadn't been arrested at the time of the video is due to the fact that it occurred in the wrestling ring, and presented the opinion that Psycho Stu has the ability to tell the police that the entire thing was fabricated for the wrestling angle. These opinions presented by Chael immediately resulted in backlash from the larger MMA community, with some even theorizing that Chael is subtly pushing Stu to tell the police it was fake, as he claims that his wrestling career would be ruined if he were to prosecute Raja. Keep in mind that this video was uploaded hours after the assault, at which point Stu was still unable to walk. 2 days later, Chael responded to the overwhelming negative attention he was receiving, although instead of apologizing and perhaps attempting to take back a position that the vast majority of people online thought was idiotic, he doubled down, presenting an even stranger comparison. He claimed that arresting Raja Jackson for the assault on Psycho Stu would be like arresting Al Pacino for the crimes in Scarface. I personally am not going to even attempt to try to make sense of that, but feel free to form your own opinion on what that even means. In terms of content creators, Chael seemed to be the only major one actively attempting to defend Raja. Although, in terms of audience response, it seemed to be split down the middle. A huge section of Twitter obviously condemned Raja for the obvious crime committed on camera, while others claimed that Raja was justified due to the can incident captured earlier. There were even some people suggesting that the entire thing was staged in order to give more attention to Kick and Raja himself. But I don't think I even need to explain to you why that idea is so stupid. Other MMA fighters also chimed in, including the notorious former UFC middleweight champion Sean Strickland, who as of late has been known as more of a Twitter warrior than an active UFC fighter, especially now that he's been suspended for attacking the opponent of a fighter he was coaching after the fight had finished. On the Raja situation, he commented saying this: "Jackson's kid shouldn't go to jail. Prison should always be a last resort. I was arrested at 19 years old for 2 felonies. I would have spent 5 to 6 years in prison if the DA had its way. After 6 years in a cell, coming out with nothing, being indoctrinated with gangs and violence, I guarantee I would have killed someone. Instead, I pled and took 100 days jail or work release, a ton of anger management, and a decent amount of victim restitution. Luckily, a lawyer took my case for free because I didn't have a dollar to my name. Bottom line is, it's not about the person in prison, it's about who they become when they're out of prison. And I believe if I wasn't offered that deal, I would be dead today, and more than likely it would have resulted in someone else's death as well. My 2 cents, rehabilitation over prison always." Now, Sean Strickland's position on this situation remains pretty unique, as his backstory is full of violence and hardship before he was able to find a release through fighting. Despite this, many online still disagreed and felt that Raja deserved jail time for what he tried to and nearly managed to do to Psycho Stu. Within a day or two of the incident having gone down, the situation had grown much larger than wrestling and MMA, with major online personalities like Moist Critical, Asmongold, and even Mr. Beast pitching in, offering 10 grand to Psycho Stu's recovery GoFundMe a few days later. The sentiment from many was that Raja will continue to be a danger to society if he is not put behind bars. And at this point in time, no arrest had been made, and he was still roaming free. Although it was confirmed by TMZ that the Los Angeles Police Department had launched an official investigation. Outside of all the speculation and clip analysis that was being done by online sleuths and influencers, one response around this time seemed to outdo all of the others in terms of giving some real context to the situation, as well as the current state of Psycho Stu. Doug Malo, the wrestler that pulled Raja off of Stu, appeared on a podcast and gave his side of the story. He claimed that there was speculation backstage that the spot involving Raja and Stu may be unsafe, which led the organizers to put him ringside, as he was one of the few wrestlers on the card with real MMA training, so he could restrain Raja. He was also one of the few people who publicly noted that part of the blame for the incident was Andre, who outright told Raja that he would back him up in case he did something to Stu, and was willing to fight other people on his behalf. Regardless of if he intended for the incident to be less severe, there seemed to be an intent of some kind of incident, which automatically endangers not only Stu, but also everyone else taking part in the event. It's one thing to do something impulsive in the heat of the moment, but to premeditate a brawl of any kind suggests a kind of malice that just doesn't belong in a contact sport like pro wrestling. Now, speaking of the event itself, according to various group chat screenshots, it appeared the promotion was trying to stop any wrestlers training at the school to discuss the events with the police, and instead only letting select few higher-ups cooperate with law enforcement. It's been suspected that this is due to the potential liability and involvement in the legal case that could be levied towards people within the school. Not only could Andre be involved due to his perceived encouragement towards the attack, but the school itself could be involved for allowing somebody with zero wrestling training to enter the ring to dangerous consequences. By all accounts, Knock X Pro were experiencing real backlash for the situation, as all connections to the WWE had been removed from their social media by this point. Amongst all of the negatives, there was one positive to come out of this podcast. Doug confirmed that Psycho Stu was awake, although he had no memory of the situation. His struggles didn't end there, as he also had a hard time walking and had just been taken off of a breathing tube the morning the podcast was recorded. Due to the footage that captures Andre's involvement in encouraging the attack and Doug bringing attention to it, Andre also began to receive heavy backlash online, resulting in a few different responses. The first came via Instagram, and this is what he wrote. "There's been a lot of speculation online about my role that night. The truth is, I was in character and speaking in the language of wrestling. Everything I said was part of the show and never intended or encouraged real harm. This was a situation that unfortunately got out of hand due to miscommunication behind the scenes." He followed that up with a podcast appearance where he would be visibly enraged, claiming that he told told Stu who Raja was before the altercation, alongside another assertment that somebody within the Knock X Pro team told Raja to keep hitting Stu until somebody came and pulled him off. Now, both of these statements were given zero evidence, and the latter is dubious given how Raja reacted after the incident. It's important to note that I'm not accusing Andre of committing a crime here, but he, unlike most people at the event, did know Raja, which means he knew Raja had no experience with pro wrestling. This means that rattling off some in-character suggestions that he'd do something to Stu to get revenge is him being very negligent at best. A few days after the attack on Stu had taken place, Rampage returned to streaming on August 27th, and initially, his comments on the situation were pretty reasonable.
I feel bad about what happened to Psycho Stu. You know, I don't condone what my son did at all. Very, very unfortunate. If I was there, things went down, but you know what I'm saying, I wasn't there. But you know what I'm saying, I'm a father, so you know, I gotta have my son's back, but I'm gonna let justice, you know, play out, take its course.
However, Rampage then decided to call out the YouTuber MMA Guru, calling him racist for suggesting that Raja is an animal that belongs in a cage.
But people like MMA Guru, you know what I'm saying, that guy is supposed to be some kind of journalist, and his racism came out. His racism showing.
Regardless of your opinion towards what Rampage had said in this specific stream, the responses and occurrences within the following days were not the ideal way to deal with a tragedy like what had happened, to say the least. Occasionally, he'd get in confrontational situations with fans who even brought it up, with a particularly awkward thing happening when he was on Neon's stream, when Neon called another streamer known as Top 5, who immediately mentioned Raja's name and said he'd knock out either Raja or Rampage. Raja at the time had still not been arrested and was actually still booked to become a wrestler for Danger Danger Pro, a promotion that looked like it was trying to bank off of the controversy, although they later backed out of the idea and dispelled their hiring of Raja as just a rumor. There was one positive, however. On the 31st of August, it was announced on his Facebook page that Psycho Stu had been officially discharged from the hospital, and he seemed to be in good spirits. Despite the good news, the responses to the situation only became stranger, as Rampage posted a second statement on his Instagram that did nothing but pour fuel on the already raging fire. Due to his message relating a lot of unrelated yapping, I'm just going to cover the important segments. I'm sick of being quiet and letting these low IQ people fall for clickbait. Yes, my son took things too far, and I'm pissed at him. If Psycho Stu wasn't drunk, he wouldn't have hit my son over the head with a real beer can. Then Knox wouldn't have felt like they had to make things right by letting Raja get him back. If my son would have just went to the police when the beer can incident happened, then this whole event could have gotten shut down and he could have sued. Once again, even if other people do hold some degree of culpability, at this point, the only place this should be getting argued about is in court. And regardless of any strange circumstances, the one person who is solely responsible for what Raja did is Raja. He's not a teenager, he's an adult who should be held accountable for his actions. Not by YouTubers, okay, not by Twitter, by the police. The quote continues, "Now, my family are getting racist threats because of all the misinformation being posted, so content creators can get paid from viewers. People actually think my son just snuck in a ring in front of a live audience and picked Stu up without permission to be there. Get smart, people. It was staged." But Raja took it too far. He only shook his hand and accepted Stu's drunken apology because they said he could get in the storyline. He was told he could hurt him. I have witnesses that say this isn't the first time that Stu has done some drunk stuff backstage to a fan. Now we have the backstory that my son attacked an innocent military vet with PTSD. In fact, Psycho Stu is a military veteran with PTSD, but oddly enough, Rampage doesn't consider this as a sufficient excuse for Stu assuming that Raja, who was backstage in a wrestling event, was a wrestler. On the other hand, there are excuses out the wazoo for Raja. He missed his mom. He got rocked the day before. His chat egged him on. Andre said it would be okay. He got hit with a prop can, and the list goes on and on. I can only imagine if Raja was the one with PTSD, he'd probably be allowed to go for a round 2 with Stu at the hospital. Lastly, Rampage has also alleged multiple times that Stu had pulled that that kind of stunt on other people before, also while drunk. But there's no evidence of this, nor is there any specific witness to this behavior. According to Doug Malo, Stu has never had an altercation with anyone backstage. So I have no idea where he's even getting this. I guess it could be true, but we have no idea. Rampage then goes on to say, "My son should face the consequences for going too far. He knows better. But Stu is lucky I wasn't there when he hit my son over the head with a beer can the day after he got a concussion from sparring. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Let's all learn a lesson. Keep your damn hands to yourself." I should note that in the same video of Raja getting hit with a kick in sparring, he can be seen continuing to spar against the same guy, which does make it look like that concussion either wasn't that big of a deal or it just wasn't a problem until after the fighting. Regardless, play stupid games, win stupid prizes is an absolutely crazy thing to say when your son just attempted to murder a guy decades older than him over an altercation he had already apologized for. While his first reaction to the incident was pretty decent, apart from getting sidetracked by MMA Guru, which a lot of these guys seem to, Rampage was clearly losing sight of all reality by this point, as he tried to push the blame for what happened onto people besides his son. Over a week after what Raja did, Doug Malo appeared on another podcast theorizing that law enforcement were attempting to get all the evidence together before making the arrest. Now you guys may be wondering, what do they have to get together? Because it seems like all of the evidence they need is in one singular livestream VOD. And although that is true, many have suggested that the fact that it took place within a wrestling event where violence is staged for entertainment purposes could have muddied the waters for law enforcement. At this point, Stu was somewhat aware of the situation and what had caused his time in the hospital. Although due to the fact that he received a traumatic brain injury, he wasn't given the full information of the story and what had happened online. It's a dark fact that brain injuries of this nature can cause various issues ranging from CTE to PTSD, so immediately stressing Stu out with the full details, footage, and news that thousands of people on the internet were blaming him for the assault was not going to be helpful. This could explain the delay in legal action from the side of Psycho Stu. At the same time, Rampage went on the show of MMA journalist Ariel Helwani to give a better statement on everything that had been happening. During the interview, Rampage said he hadn't spoken to his son since the incident had happened because Raja had dishonored the Jackson name. Although this was easy to infer based on how much he had been streaming on Kick, it still felt weird to hear coming straight out of his mouth.
Are you at all worried about his well-being?
Yeah, it's my son. I am worried about his well-being.
I can't imagine what it would feel like to see my son do that. I also don't think I would cut my son off if he did that. So if you are worried about his well-being, why are you not talking to him?
Because he dishonored my name. So I'm not cutting him off for forever. I just haven't talked to him.
But this is the worst moment of his life. He needs you now more than ever.
Now, listen, I talked to him, and he hid the fact that he did this, and he put my other kids at danger based off what the other people said, and I just can't talk to him right now. I just can't. I'm not saying I'm never going to talk to him again. I just can't talk to him right now. I need some time. I'm dealing with his attorneys and all this. I'm very disappointed in Raja. Like, yeah, I'm not a perfect parent, so I don't know what's the protocol to how much time.
However, it didn't take long for Rampage to once again start trying to shift blame onto Psycho Stu and other people, saying that he was disappointed in Stu for him not coming forward and saying that the stunt was staged and Raja was supposed to enter the ring.
Yeah, my son took it too far. He was wrong, and I don't condone what my son did. Thank God Psycho Stu, pulled through. Got really upset with all the death threats and all this stuff, and I wanted Psycho Stu to tell his part that my son did not sneak up on him, and I never heard him say that. So now I'm upset. Now I'm upset with Psycho Stu because he didn't come out and say, "Oh, whoa, yeah, what Raja did was up," but he didn't sneak in the ring and do this. That's all he had to say to get some of these racist ass out of my DMs. Should at least said something. Take some accountability. Like, honestly, everybody was wrong.
I don't know why he's so focused on this little supposed piece of information, because from a cursory look into people talking about it online, everyone knows Raja was supposed to be in the event. It's just that Raja wasn't supposed to try to kill the other guy in it. The most egregious blame shift is when Rampage complained about the other wrestlers not pulling Raja off of Stu fast enough.
Raja was the most wrong. Everybody was wrong, but none of this ever would have happened if Psycho Stu never hit my son on the back of the head with a can that they were drinking beer out of, and then grabbed him by the neck, asked him to sell it. Everybody's wrong. What took them so long to get in there and get Roger off of him. Y'all, the police need to investigate that. Why it took his friend so long to get in that ring. He should never even been there. This is gonna be the last time I talk about this.
But whatever Rampage could say wouldn't change the reality of the situation. While Raja was still not under arrest, people were now speculating that he'd get charged with battery with serious bodily harm, which could be classed as a felony based on the injuries of Psycho Stu. This could easily get him a sentence of 4 years, although it can be increased to 6 depending on the severity of the injuries. Finally, on September 19th, 2025, 26 days after the original assault, Raja was recorded being escorted out of an apartment complex by police officers in handcuffs, actually receiving felony charges. He was then placed in jail, with his bail being set to 50 grand, although it wouldn't be long until this was paid by Rampage. While Raja's actions are very much unique, I can't help but notice that over the last half a decade or so, it's become pretty customary for streaming, especially IRL streaming, to be associated with people getting pushed past the brink of insanity, and sometimes to a criminal degree. 10 years ago, it was a common joke in the commentary community how people would straight up commit crimes during the making of prank videos and act like it was justified because it was for content. And back then, that did happen here and there, but more and more, it seems like less of a joke and more like a genuine concern. As egregious as Raja's attack was in and of itself, it's disturbing how many people in his chat were telling him to do it or justifying it after the fact, as if it was all a joke. I think if you have any kind of mental issues of any kind, whether they make you aggressive, depressed, or whatever, you probably shouldn't subject yourself to the mental toll of streaming if it's too much to handle. And clearly, Raja wasn't able to handle it at all. Hopefully, Psycho Stu doesn't suffer any long-term consequences of the attack, and I hope he gets justice for what happened to him. Anyhow, I've been Turkey Tom, thanks for watching, and until next time, leave me alone.